Contracts have been a staple to Warzone and are a major feature that a lot of battle royales don't have. Embarking on somewhat of a side quest mid-match to not only get your money up, but find exclusive loot or even end the game entirely is one of the best things Warzone has to offer. So join me as we take a look at the entire history of contracts in Warzone. There's a lot of contracts to work with here, and I guarantee you forgot about some of these, and others you may not have even known existed in the first place. So comment your favorite contract in Warzone. I'm going to go ahead and lump the 3 original contracts together since we all know what they are and how they function. The scavenger spawns in a chest that you can open, which then spawns another chest, and after you open that, one more chest, each one giving you loot, but by the 3rd one, you'll have completed the contract. Then you have the bounty, which is pretty self-explanatory. After grabbing it, you'll get assigned another player as a bounty, and you'll be rewarded more money than the average contract if you can kill your bounty. If someone else kills them, you still get money, just not as much. Then you have recon, which will spawn a radio station nearby, and all I have to do is secure it like a domination flag, which will then pay you, but also reveal the next circle position. This effect would also stack, so you could do 6 of these contracts and be able to see the final circle before anyone else, which was actually a very viable method for farming wins. This contract would also get a rework, more on that later though. Also, I think it's worth noting that for the entirety of Warzone 1, the more contracts you would do, the more you would get paid, and you could seriously break the game if you wanted to play the whole like contract fetch quest goblin, which was really cool. Not sure why they got rid of that effect after Warzone 1. Most Wanted will be added into the game alongside one other contract, which is the next entry on this list, and is one of the most aggressive contracts in the game. Pretty much acting like a reverse bounty, this contract marks you on the map for everyone to see and immediately starts a timer, which I think was like 3 minutes. Nowadays, Most Wanted timers can go down by like looting and killing people and even like using the buy station, I think. But in Warzone 1, that was not a feature, so the 3 minutes was like you were hard stuck on that, which definitely made this contract a little bit more difficult. Nowadays, this is really good, especially at the beginning of a game, like right after you land in, because since you're going to be looting a ton in the first place, it was pretty much a free couple $1,000s per player, so obviously gave you a pretty big head start. But for a super random attribute about this is that the fact it revived your entire team when you finished it. So if you were the last man standing with no cash and wanted to go back for a last-ditch effort to bring the squad back, this is what you were probably going to do. I think that it's also worth noting that if you or anyone in your team was down, you would immediately be revived if someone finished this contract. And what I mean by that is that you would just be down and then immediately up with your gun ready to go and everything with no one even touching you to revive you. And this made for some pretty funny encounters. Even if you were the one being revived, it was kind of like starting, you're like, wait, what? How am I up? My only problem with this contract is that it's not on a lot of the maps, so I don't get to use it as often. Other than that, this is definitely a fan favorite, especially now that you can like reduce the time by looting and whatnot. Perhaps one of the worst contracts in Warzone history basically was a game of going A to B, and that was it. That's all there was to the supply run. Also, that A to B journey was like 500 or 600 meters away every single time, and you only had like 2 minutes to complete it. Anyways, it always took you to a buy station, and once you got there, you not only got your cash reward, but then that buy station would be marked, allowing you and your team to get like discounted items, I think of like 80%. If you didn't want to buy anything, you could also just get a free self-revive or revive a teammate for free. So I guess that was pretty neat. So the rewards are pretty cool, but I just think the risk for reward here was just not worth it, especially if you didn't have a vehicle. You would seriously be spending the whole entire time running. They eventually reworked it to be much closer and user-friendly, so you don't have to play like walking simulator while you're doing this contract. And they even made a different version of this contract, which we'll talk about later in this video, that is actually one of my favorite contracts. Contraband is actually a very interesting contract that is something that I wish they would bring back because of its exclusive rewards. For starters, it was a contract that didn't just spawn in. You had to have already completed at least one contract in order to just get a chance at it spawning in. Even then, it still wouldn't guarantee a spawn. Once it did, you would see a blue briefcase contract on your map, which by the way, I think is the only colored contract in Warzone ever. Please comment if I'm wrong on that. Anyways, whoever grabbed the contract needed to be escorted to a landing zone for a helicopter, and then once you got there, the helicopter would drop a bag for you to deposit the contract in, and on top of your hefty cash reward, you and your team got a new exclusive blueprint. Having rewards that are exclusive to challenges in game are way more gratifying. It's something you can kind of show off, which makes this even more disappointing that it hasn't made a return. I couldn't find an exact date for when the big game bounty was added to the game, but I'm pretty sure it was just before or just after Caldera was introduced, so I'm just gonna put it like right here. Basically, it was an even more aggressive version of the bounty and Most Wanted, since your bounty would essentially be the kill leader of the lobby. There were some proximity restrictions to this, so it would be the person with the most kills within like a 500-meter distance or something, but this came with the highest payout of any contract if I'm not mistaken. And it also gave you an advanced UAV right after you killed them. Like, you didn't even have to like activate it, it would just go right automatically after you killed them. And I'm pretty sure that also worked even if it got poached. So pretty good contract overall. Alongside Caldera, we got a new contract in the form of the Top Secret contract, which really wasn't anything new, kind of like an interesting concept, I guess. It basically just gave you a random contract, but that contract would pay like really fat. So it was kind of risky. You really just wanted like scavengers so that way you could just get a super dumb payout early out. Interesting concept, but nothing special. This is an overhauled version of the regular supply run, but way better and honestly one of the most fun contracts on this list. It worked the exact same way, but only showed up during the second half of the game, and instead of taking to a regular buy station, it took you to a black market buy station, which had tons of exclusive loot. Things like the sequencer grenade, which I had no idea was in this game until making this video, if I'm being honest. It would stun you and also flash you and also like reveal your position and you'd leave footprints behind from whoever threw it at you. Seemed like super annoying. You could also buy a redacted weapon, which was an 8 attachment gun, which you couldn't get any other way. There was also Foresight, which is arguably the rarest kill streak in all of Warzone, which will show you all of the rest of the circles leading up to the final circle. Specialist bonus was here as well for I think $15,000. You know, obviously everyone loved that. And you could even buy a Nebula V minigun, which if not mistaken is the only time you could ever use this gun in Warzone. The normal minigun was crazy in the first place, but giving this thing Nebula rounds is probably the most illegal thing that's ever been shown on this channel. Regardless, I think if Warzone is lacking on one thing, it's definitely exclusive ground loot, and it's kind of something I brush on in my rarest items in Warzone video. So I love when you have contracts like this that open you up to a whole bunch of new items that you can't get any other way. And this contract only being on Warzone 1 Fortune's Keep is criminal. I'll be completely honest, I didn't know that this contract existed and just sounds crazy. So once you've activated the sabotage contract, you were assigned a vehicle to destroy. And once you did, you got an armored truck. And that's all there was to it, nothing else. Now, if you ever played Armored Royale, you know that these armored trucks are probably the best vehicle in all of Warzone, excluding the pre-patch planes, of course, and were really only designed for a limited time mode. Having an insane amount of HP is one thing, but then being able to switch to the turret that's on top is another. And that was like an instant switch, by the way. You didn't have to get out or anything. And that turret hit super hard. Getting this thing in pubs is something I can't imagine, but the fact that you could through this contract is mind-boggling to me. Caldera already being a controversial and hated map, had I known about this, I maybe would have given it a second chance. This is pretty much a scavenger contract, but with a few added twists. The biggest difference between this and the scavenger is that the scavenger spawned chests one at a time and you couldn't see the next one until you opened the one that you were currently after. Whereas for the save cracker, not only are we replacing the chests with safes, they also all are shown at the exact same time. Also, unlike scavs, they're spread much further apart. Not much to say here other than I think most people would agree that scavengers are just like better and a lot more user-friendly. I also think it's weird that save crackers were exclusive to Al Mazrah. Like Vondel and Ashika both had regular scavenger contracts to them, so that was kind of odd too. I don't really understand that, but oh well. Similar to Save Crackers, this is pretty much a reworked version of the Recon contract, only this time it added a step. Instead of just going to the radio, now you had to go to a broad area and find a laptop that wouldn't be marked on your map until you got to the broad area and started walking around, which was super annoying. Once you got the laptop, you had to go to a console and upload the intel and stand by it until it uploaded. This is the part that's like identical to the Recon. Also got the same rewards here in that you got to see the next circle, which is cool, but having the added step was kind of just annoying. Now in Warzone 3, it's still called Secure Intel, but it removed the finding the laptop part, so now you just have the upload the intel, which is pretty much identical to the original Recon contract. This is probably the coolest contract that Warzone has ever added to the game, but unfortunately was added to the worst version of Warzone. In case you didn't know, after winning 5 games of Battle Royale in a row, you would unlock the Champions Quest, which is one of the hardest achievements in all of Warzone. Getting the contract is one thing, but then getting it done with just one try is another. The steps to complete it are insanely difficult. Once the contract was active, you had to collect the elements that were scattered around the map, which each giving you a negative effect. From being marked for all other players to see you, taking random damage, and scattering your HUD and minimap, just like not being able to see anything. Once all the elements were acquired, you had to then wait for the bomb site to be revealed, then arm the bomb, then defend the bomb from being defused. If you did all this, you got some exclusive rewards and also one of the most impressive accolades in all of Warzone. Warzone 2 may have sucked, but the introduction of this contract was a highlight and a dark spot for COD. Alongside Ashika Island, we got a new contract known as the Search and Seizure. This contract marked a car for you that you had to unlock and drive to another location. Also, I think when this first dropped, there was also AI here. I think they removed that later on. Although I do like the idea of this contract, I think I would like it a whole lot more if it was on any other map but Ashika. And that's not even a jab at Ashika Island. I actually enjoy this map and think it gets a lot of hate that it really just doesn't deserve. Also, a moment of silence for Ashika Island. But in all seriousness, Ashika Island really isn't designed to be very vehicle friendly, so I thought it didn't make a lot of sense to have like a driving contract in this map. Like seriously, this is the only contract that's like objectively about driving. Other than that, I would love to see this contract make a return to pretty much any map aside from Ashika. This contract was introduced on Vondel and let you hack other contracts. All you had to do was hack 2 contracts and you were done with it really quick. And you could also hack any contract, not just the one that they were showing you. The cool thing about this is that instead of getting paid all at once, you and all your teammates got paid in installments of $500 over time, which would end up totaling to more than what you would do if you completed a normal contract. You could strategically do this, like do a signals contract that spawned right by 2 other contracts. So you could just do it super quick. I'm not even joking, like you can do it in like 10 seconds. Eradication is one of the only contracts on this list that involve AI. Exclusively on Fortune's Keep in Warzone 3, this contract marked a dead zombie that would lead you to a zombie hive. Once you cleared the hive by shooting the cysts off the wall and floor, an HVT would spawn in, which would either be a hellhound or an armored zombie. Also, some people are saying that it could be a mimic, but I don't think I've seen that. So comment if that's true. I did not find any footage of that. Anyways, after killing the HVT, on top of your cash reward, the HVT would drop a durable gas mask, a kill streak, and then a gold gun, which that gold gun could also have a chance of being a Wonder Waff or a ray gun. There were a handful of other ways to get these wonder weapons on Fortune's Keep, but this being yet another way is just kind of awesome. It's super rare, so while you're actively doing this contract, knowing that it's a possibility is always something fun to look forward to. This is the newest contract in Warzone and it's pretty simple. Once activated, 9 spy drones will hover in a specific area and all you have to do is destroy them. After getting paid, if you go under where you shot the drones, not only are there redeployed drones for you to equip, but one of them will always drop an advanced UAV, which is a pretty solid plus to an already like easy contract. They also recently nerfed the HP of the drones. Like before you would have to 2, maybe even 3 shot them with any gun but a sniper, but now it's pretty much a 1 shot from any gun, which makes this even more easy. So spawn pretty much wherever you pick up the contract, so that's another plus. And if you see someone else's spy drones in the air, you can shoot them out and steal the money for yourself, which is a funny feature. I know we already mentioned the traditional Champions quest, but I wanted to go ahead and mention the Resurgence new quest because of how different it is. The base contract is pretty much the same concept: grab elements, then arm bomb and detonate it. The time between elements dropping is excruciatingly difficult because you have to pretty much exploit the buy station in order to do so. You can also interrogate and execute enemies, but you absolutely cannot die or else this whole run will be ruined. Figured I'd give it its own spot on this list because a lot would argue that it's more difficult than the original Champions quest. But that's the entire history of contracts in Warzone. Let me know if I missed any. This is the one video where I actually don't think I did, but if I still did, go ahead and let me know. Comment your favorite contract. Also comment what contract you want to make a return. Check out some of my other Warzone videos. Join my Discord if you're feeling crazy, and if you liked, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike, and thank you so much for watching.